Now we would like to call our next keynote speaker, Dr. JOAO Silva, to deliver his talk titled Bahrain Parks, a Cloud Platform for Planning, Designing, and Managing Public Parks. Dr. Silva, please take the floor.
I'm going to talk about a project that is different from what we've been listening to today. It's a bottom-up project, an approach coming from the College of Engineering of the University of Bahrain to deal with the built environment, in particular the parks, the urban public parks. So I'm going to go through backgrounds of parks benefits and genesis of the project, and then talk about aims and objectives and work done so far. And I'm going to show a live demo of the application. So urban parks are very important. They have several aspects. Environmental sustainability, for example, they help mitigate air pollution, mitigate high temperatures, which is of importance here in the region, mitigate acoustic pollution, support biodiversity, promote aquifer recharge, etc. It's also important in terms of social aspects, so facilitates exercising and socializing. And they are places that all sorts of backgrounds and social upbringing, they are used by all sorts of different people with very different backgrounds and social condition. The matter of public health is important in the region. In any developed country, we know that inactivity is a big concern. And that is the case here in the region as well. So we're trying to build an infrastructure of knowledge that is supposed to inform decision-making regarding the built environment. It's infrastructure of knowledge that is based on data first. We try to leverage that data to information. And in a third step, there will be leveraging of that information to knowledge. So we can talk about knowledge, but knowledge is way in the future. We're promoting evidence-based research. So we want to have data to then inform trials, to do many pilot tests. So we use a trial and error approach to not only inform policy, but really inform the planning of parks and the design of parks, and obviously also the management of parks. The management of parks has to do with live information. It's linked to what we tend to think of when we think about a smart city, so a cascade of live information that culminates in some sort of action. But to use data for planning and for design, we need a lot more information than just short-term live information. We're including public participation, including ratings, counts, and surveys. Ratings means any visitor to a park today can rate the park with 5 criteria. We're also doing categorized counts of users on parks. We create this tool for the municipalities to start doing this frequently. They didn't start yet, but we're doing so ourselves in one park to show the potential of the use of that data. And we plan to do surveys to understand better how people use the parks and who uses the parks. We also have an aim of making parks smart, creating a sense of dynamics of the parks that respond to people's needs. At the same time, create a sense of ownership of the parks due to this participation of the public. And obviously, parks are places of leisure. So they have an aura of positivity that hopefully becomes attractive to corporate social responsibility. So what we're doing, we're trying to first increase the general awareness of parks. We did a small survey, just informal, with our students, and we realized that on average, I think there are around 19 parks in the country, 19. The reality is there are more than 200. So it's an order of magnitude above what most people think the number of parks exists. So people don't know even about most of the parks. So we're doing also a comprehensive inventory of the parks. We monitor the usage of the parks. We're gathering user ratings. We're going to start soon doing an inventory of vegetation for each park and measure the green waste for each park as well. In terms of why we're measuring, we try to measure everything. We try to measure as much as possible, get figures for everything related to the parks. Inventory of vegetation will help us, for example, we would like to have a dollar amount for how each park contributes to the country in terms of environment and social contribution in terms of public health, for example. A measurement of green waste, why are we doing this? Because at the moment, obviously the parks have vegetation that generates waste. But this waste is going to landfill at the moment. And we should use this, a resource we could use, but we need to know how much there is. We need to categorize it, and we need to know when it occurs more and less. So we need to know the frequency with which we have this kind of waste, so that we can eventually spark a new industry here in Bahrain. So this web application that we're creating at the center, the hub of this project, allows access to the database in the first place, then allows for the creation of data, allows for some data, very basic data analysis, and allows for data sharing. So now we started very recently. We don't even have a full list of parks yet. We are in phase 2, proof of concept. And we are a multidisciplinary team that is growing at the moment. So I'd like to show you the application itself. So this application has been live for around 4 or 5 months now. And it's data-driven, it's built on the fly every time we access it. So on the homepage we have a map that is taking a while to show, but here there is a map. It's a surprising element because it's a map of the country showing up to now 84 parks, which looks like a lot. And it's surprising because people in general don't tend to not imagine there are so many. Despite the government spending millions of dinars every year in parks. Okay, so the map is well, the internet is just very slow, I suppose. So what sparked this idea was speaking with the Ministry of Works, the concern they have. Some parks are extremely popular and sometimes are even overused, creating all sorts of congestion problems. And other parks are just not used pretty much. And we'd like to know what are the characteristics, what makes a good park. And apparently it's very hard to establish that at the moment. So we're trying to figure out what those characteristics are. And after having all this data, we hopefully have some some insight. So even without the map, I'll try to describe this very quickly. So on here we have, we try to have data available for all types of stakeholders or users. So here in family parks, we simply have a map that shows the algorithmically selected top 10 parks, best for families. Then we have a rating system where anyone that visits a park can just rate the park here using 5 criteria: vegetation, amenities, conservation, cleanliness, and schedule. And here in the center we have actual ranking of the parks based on the rating. We also have a way for anyone to select a park based on features. So we park with or without walkway, or a children playground, or a picnic area, or toilets, etc. And we have also a professional for people working at the municipalities and Ministry of Works, where they can select a subset of parks. They see all the parks on the map. They have a table with all the data that they can export, and they can even plot a selection of elements. So if they have 2 variables to coordinate, I was planning to show you a curious piece of data here. When you plot the area of the parks versus the area of the parks that are shaded, shading is a crucial element of parks in the country. We would expect to see a positive correlation, and we actually see minimal correlation, and for some municipalities, the correlation is actually negative. Finally, just to show you here a facility for park managers, where they can select a park, and then they can do counts in 5 categories. They can count blind, wheelchair users, men, women, children, and seniors. So as I said, this is a bottom-up approach. This is what we're not trying to create a smart city because we want a smart city. We are professionals and we need data. So that's why I'm calling it a bottom-up approach. And this is the kind of data that we planners and designers, architects need to increase the quality and the efficiency of the performance of the built environment. And this is the shape or the form we find to do so. And now I'd like to hear from you. Thank you.
Conclusion. So thank you, Mr. JOAO, Mr. Gohari. So Mr. Gohari explained there are 84 parks in Bahrain. 84 parks in Bahrain?
Yes, Bahrain.
84 parks.
84.
Some are used and some are unused. So some people are sleeping here. If you take us those unused parks, it will be helpful for us. Anyway, so I asked the audience, you please make a question to him about his lecture.
I think the stakeholders who are responsible for the prosperity of the parks in Bahrain should be approached, especially the Health Promotion Directorate of the Ministry of Health. I don't know if you have approached these stakeholders in order to take their perspectives and employ it in your survey.
Of course, after we had something to show for our idea, we approached the Ministry of Works, and they gave us their full support. We are working with the 4 municipalities. And I forgot to mention, we have sponsorship, actually, from the National Initiative for Agricultural Development. They fully support us. They're actually sponsoring the project at the moment. The Ministry of Health it's in our agenda to speak with as well. Yeah, for sure. Thank you.
So if you don't have, if the audience don't have any question, then we ask you to ask another speaker, please. Next speaker.
Thank you. Since this is our last session, if you have any questions, you can ask. Do you have any questions? This is the last session. Yes. Okay. So with this, ladies and gentlemen, we conclude our sessions for today. Thank you so much for your contribution and participation. Thank you. I would like to invite Professor Abdallah Al-Hawaj and Professor Mansour Al-Ali to give the certification of appreciation to our keynote speakers. JOAO. If you would like to join a group photo, please come on stage.